When we first meet Estelle Bright, she's not some sort of legendary hero. She's loud, she's a little bit reckless, and honestly, she does not take her job very seriously. However, by the time Trails in the Sky first chapter ends, she has become one of the best portraits of growth and leadership I have ever seen in a video game. Even if you've never heard of this game or this series, I want to walk you through the journey I just took with her. I want to discuss what this story taught me about leadership and growth and why its slow pacing actually matters and why you might gain something from it whether you play it or not. I want to give you a very quick overview, even if you're not a Trails fan. Trails in the Sky first chapter is a story-driven role-playing game. It takes place in a small kingdom called Liberl, a country still recovering from war and trying to navigate a rapidly changing world. You play as two teenagers, Estelle and Joshua Bright. They are part of an organization that is basically a mix of problem solvers, protectors for hire, and local heroes. They're called the Bracer Guild. Their job is to travel from town to town helping people, solving small crises. But eventually, they get pulled into something much bigger that infects the entire country. People often describe this game as a slow burn. The game spends hours letting you live in towns, meet side characters, and take on what look like smaller problems. Lost cats, local thieves, a burned building, teenagers making dumb choices. On paper, that can sound boring. However, that slowness is what allows the game to build up to all of its big moments. It is building a world and a cast that feel real, so that when things do finally explode, you actually care. That final stretch only hits as hard as it does because of all the time you spent listening to Estelle ramble about food and helping random people with their problems. So if you're not a Trails fan, don't worry. I want you to think of this as a story about a young woman growing up and a game that takes its time letting you see that happen. Let's start with who Estelle is at the beginning. Estelle starts the game kind of like a sparkler. She's bright, she's loud, she's all over the place. She swings a staff, she talks before she thinks, and she treats her job mostly like it's an excuse to go on adventures with Joshua. Early on, her mentor, Sherazard, calls her out for not taking things seriously, and at one point even says, "It looks like you're finally starting to fix that mindset of yours." That line stuck with me because it is the moment the game quietly says, this is not just about quests, this is about who Estelle is becoming. There's an early mission where two kids go missing in a tall tower outside of the hometown of our two protagonists. Estelle decides to go rescue them. She does not wait around. She takes initiative, charges in, and genuinely cares about their safety. But at the end, she lets her guard down. Things fall apart, monsters attack, and her dad, a senior bracer, has to show up and save them all. And that is not just a random action scene. That's a leadership failure. Estelle cared, but she was not ready. Near the end of the game, Joshua says a line I love. Any failures of today can be made up for tomorrow. That sounds simple, but it encapsulates a whole philosophy of growth inside of a single sentence. You are going to misjudge situations. You will either run too fast or hesitate too long. The question is not, did you fail, but what did you do next? One of the reasons Estelle works so well as a main character is that she cares loudly. She does not just check off tasks on a list. She throws her whole heart into people's problems. She is blunt and sometimes clumsy, but she genuinely wants people to be okay. There's a girl they come across about halfway through the game named Chloe, and Estelle can tell that something is weighing on her. Instead of just letting it go, she gently pushes through the awkwardness to be there for her. She listens, she encourages, she stands beside her. With random townsfolk, she will say the honest thing, even if it's a little rough around the edges, because she cannot stand watching someone suffer alone. From a leadership standpoint, that is huge. Many of us treat leadership like a checklist or task management. Trails in the Sky reminds us that leadership begins with a relational process. It's showing up for the people in front of you, even when you don't have a perfect plan yet. It's caring enough to listen, even when there's nothing in it for you. And the game doesn't leave her there. It keeps putting her around people who deepen that empathy and even begin to challenge it. And one of the best examples is Matron Teresa. In one chapter, you visit a small rural orphanage run by Matron Teresa. She's not a warrior, she's not a politician, she's a caretaker who has chosen to create a safe haven for children who have nowhere else to turn. She leads with a calm and steady presence. She does not make rash decisions, even when she has every reason to be angry. She refuses to give in to bitterness. She listens. She trusts the people around her, including that quiet student named Chloe, and she praises Chloe's judgment in the middle of some very emotional moments. Matron Teresa shows us a form of leadership that many stories overlook. The person who holds things together without ever stepping into the spotlight. The person whose influence is measured in healed hearts, not headlines. Estelle watches that. She experiences it up close. And slowly you can see her start to absorb it. She's still the enthusiastic one. She is still the person who thinks before she speaks. But she's surrounded by adults who model patience, wisdom, and trust. That's how real growth happens for us too. We do not just wake up one day and decide to be better. We watch people who are further along than we are. We borrow pieces of their character. We learn by proximity, for good or for bad. This is also one of the reasons why I think the slow pacing of Trails in the Sky is actually secretly brilliant, especially if you're not a typical JRPG person. The game gives you time to sit with people like Matron Teresa, to listen to long conversations that do not seem epic in the moment. It lets you hang out in warm dining rooms, quiet chapels, and crowded markets. That's how it subtly incorporates leadership formation into what appears to be a very cozy-ish adventuring game. You're not just grinding levels, you're soaking in examples of how different people carry responsibility. Of course, Estelle does not grow in a vacuum. Joshua is right there the whole time, and their relationship is one of the best parts of the story. Estelle is emotion first. Joshua is analyzing first. She wants to rush in and help everyone. He's the one asking, what are we missing? What are the pieces we have not yet seen? If Estelle is the heart of the story, Joshua is the nervous system. From a leadership lens, that kind of partnership is gold. In real life, some of us are more like Estelle. We bring energy, warmth, and courage. We get people moving, but we might miss details or charge in without a full plan. Some of us are more like Joshua. We see patterns. We spot the dangers before anyone else. We are calm in a crisis, but sometimes we hesitate to act or struggle to connect emotionally. Trails in the Sky quietly says, you need both. Estelle would not become the kind of leader she is without Joshua. He grounds her. He asks better questions. He slows her down just enough. And Joshua's more reserved, thoughtful style of leadership would not matter as much without Estelle pulling him into people's lives. She gives him a reason to step out of the background and to be known. If you ever play this game, that picture of partnership is worth holding on to. You do not have to be everything. You need people who balance you. There's another side of Estelle that the game explores through a character named Tita. Later in the story, Estelle meets Tita, a young girl who is brilliant with machines but still very much a kid. You can feel Estelle's big sister energy kick in instantly. She is more energetic than ever. She dotes on Tita. She wants to protect her. She wants to give Tita the kind of warmth and support that she has not always had. It's really beautiful, but it also reveals something important. Joy on its own is not enough. We see moments where Estelle gets scolded for acting out. Moments where she forgets the larger mission because she's so focused on the moment right in front of her. She gets swept up in helping every single person, taking every side job, and sometimes loses track of the big picture. You can bring enthusiasm and care, but you can burn out or drift if you never pause to zoom out. You can be so focused on helping everyone that you forget why you're on the journey in the first place. If that feels familiar, you are not alone. A lot of us live like that. We say yes to everything good. We stack our schedules with people and projects, and then we wonder why we are exhausted and off course. The game does not shame Estelle for this. It does not tell her to stop caring. It simply keeps placing people around her who nudge her back to center. People who remind her that preparation matters, pacing matters, and that there's a long road ahead. By the time you've traveled through all the different regions of this little country, something subtle has happened. Estelle has grown up before your eyes. Not in a single dramatic cutscene, but in 100 tiny choices and lots of good relationships. She asks better questions. She slows down a little. She still leads with kindness. She's still very energetic, but she's learning to be steady instead of just loud. All of those little quests and side stories are not filler. They are the training ground for her character. If you do not give up, a path to victory will usually appear, and the power of going on a journey, physically or metaphorically, can really change you. That is why when the bigger political plot finally shows up and things in this small kingdom get very, very serious, you believe it. You believe that this cheerful, impulsive girl is ready to stand in the middle of it all. You have watched her grow into someone who can. That's also why the final scene in the first chapter is not just a twist. It will be a test of everything Estelle has learned. It is a moment when her identity, courage, and love are all pulled together at once. And if you finish the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've not, I'll just say this. The ending is not only powerful because of what happens, it is powerful because of who Estelle is finally become by then. Estelle Bright is not perfect. She is flawed, she is impulsive, she is sometimes oblivious, but she never stops showing up. She keeps moving forward, even when she is scared, even when she feels like she is not enough. That is why, by the end, she feels a little less like a typical role-playing game protagonist and more like a friend you have watched grow up. If you've never played Trails in the Sky First Chapter, I truly believe it is worth your time. But even if you never touch it, there is something worth holding on to here. Give your own story space to breathe. Pay attention to the small quests in your life, the ordinary people you meet, the mentors and friends who shape you. Notice how you are growing, not just in big dramatic moments, but in the daily choices that keep you showing up. Because most of us do not start as leaders. We become them one small step at a time.